this is one of the most unique times in human history. And I know we say that all the time, but I think we can pretty much agree there's been no time in human history when half of the planet was going through a shared experience of sheltering in place and dealing with the life, business, and economic ramifications of a virus. And so I think, Dickens in Tale of Two Cities, he always, I think this framing of it's always the best of times and always the worst of times, but we certainly are in unique times. And so to try to help people get a sense of, some of the language how we might get our minds around this, I wrote a piece a couple weeks ago called The Great Reset. And my basic thesis is that this isn't a hold. It's not like, we're hitting the pause button. We're actually going through a reset in our personal lives, in our professional lives, for our organizations, for our communities, and our countries. And what's critical is that we start to get the processes in place where we can all get our arms around these things. And because we know that there are going to be tremendous challenges and hopefully lots of opportunities as we go through phases in this reset, let's talk about just what those look like and what kind of world we're trying to design as we go through the process. So I've grouped it, into survive, revive, and thrive. So survive, we're falling off the cliff. We're just all trying to figure out how we're going to keep the lights on. If we have businesses, how we're going to keep those going. If we have communities, how we're going to help our constituents all to connect with each other. Phase two is we are going to see, and I think this is happening clearly in both in Australia and in New Zealand as we start to carefully turn the lights back on. There's a set of processes to go through in trying to restart our economies, our organizations, and our institutions. And then eventually, when globally we've got a vaccine, when we've got processes in place that we all sort of agree this is how we're going to manage, we want to recover. We want to pull back to hopefully not just where we were before, but we want to create the conditions under which even more can thrive. I know that, for instance, Australia has had just an amazing run with its economy for a good period of time, but we can always build better. We can always build new, and we can always build more inclusively. And I'll talk about some of those strategies. In the United States, what our biggest challenge is that we, in the same way that that the language now has been in mitigating the impact of a virus, has been to flatten the curve. We also have we've got to flatten the slump. That is, we've got 33 million people that we admit to being out of work, and there's a lot more that we'd add to that number in actuality. And so we've got to figure out, aside from everything else, how do we restart, really substantial economic opportunity? And that varies around the world because depending on a variety of different heuristics, including the ways that the economies and societies, the decisions they've made about how they're going to keep people working. But we also see that with many economies that have there's strong component on informal work, not real jobs. And so how we design for that future in any economy, in any society, is a really critical set of agreements, and especially what we do related to different industries. So I'm happy during Q&A we can delve into or delve into a range of different industries if you want to just talk about some of the ripple effects and the waves. But essentially, there's not a single industry that we can point to where there isn't some impact, and there's some that are just tremendously advantaged, and there's some that are tremendously disadvantaged.